Hello and welcome to a special Patreon video looking at Jovial's Sudoku Extravaganza as we build. It's something for everyone, she called it, and the point of the 20 puzzle relay was that it was approachable. Now, you may have been expecting me to do a video solving all 20 puzzles, and you're not going to get that, I'm afraid. What I'm going to do is take you through the first puzzle and how to use the circled digits, and then we'll look at some of the ones that people reported as hardest through the relay and see how they could be approached. So you may have had your own way of solving these puzzles. It may have been perfectly good. It may have been far better than what I will do. I'm solving them to some extent from memory from about a month ago and to some extent live. So we'll see how that goes. But I do want to mention the prize, which was this unbelievable Sudoku pillow created by Anita, who is active on Discord under another name and is a brilliant correspondent and obviously a brilliant crochet artist as well. And if you compare this pillow with, or cushion with, the grid for the first puzzle that came up when you entered the first tiny URL into a browser, it is exactly the same, of course. Fantastic bit of work by Anita to create this. Lovely to think that somebody in future will look at this and go, is that a solvable Sudoku? And not know that it led to this incredible extravaganza by Jovial. Anyway, thank you so much to Anita for creating that. And well done to Valentin Delary, who won it. The draw I did myself by basically counting the number of correct entries we'd had in. We'll get to how you correctly entered at the end of the video. And then generating a random number in Excel, counting through the emails we'd had that used the correct word and picking the winner that way. So I did record that process. I'm not planning to show it to anybody because it basically looks at our email server. So I'm generally considering that private. But anyway, that is available if we ever get challenged. But it was a completely fair and random draw, and well done to Valentin, but especially well done to the other 929 entrants who were in before the time. Since then, we've had another 70 more. There's definitely been over 1,000 people who have got through this whole relay. Unbelievable. Well done. Anyway, let's look at how you could get started with what was a classic Sudoku to begin. So every puzzle in the relay was of a different variant, starting with classic, working through all the types that we regularly do on the channel, basically, and one or two that Jovial likes to do. So, okay, let's solve this as a classic Sudoku. So we can see that there's a 3 in one of those two cells. 7 is fixed in box 3. That can just be placed. And then it's going to go in one of 2 cells over here. Down here we get some real traction. A 951 and a 4 in that box says that 7 and 3 have to be in those 2 cells. So this is a 286 triple. In fact, this is a naked single 6 from the absolute outset. And we can put a 2-8 pair in there. Now, as we look along, let's see what else we can find. Sorry, because I don't know exactly what we are going to find next. I'll just do some pencil marking for now until we find something bigger. No, look, 5 and 2, very similar in this box. We can actually fill in 5 and 2 into box 4, and then we have a 3, 4, 6 triple to fill the remaining cells. At the top, 7 in this column, can't go in any of those cells, so in it goes there. Then we'll have 1, 8, and 9. So I'm using our classic system of corner marks when numbers are confined within a box, and central marks when candidates are restricted in a cell. Now, 1 and 2 are both looking at all of those cells, so they must form a pair there. And that's going to put 5 in the top row in box 3, which obviously goes with it being in row 2 in box 2. And sorry, the 3s should have been in the corner. I got that pencil marking wrong straight away. 5, 3, 6. This is 1, 8, or 9. 2, 1, 5, 4. So one of those is a 6, and therefore one of these is a 6. 3, 2, 8, 6, 7. That is 4 or 5. That is 4 or 9. Not quite breaking through here. 1 in this row has only 2 candidate places. That's 4 or 6. 5, 8, 4, 7, 1, 2, 8, 3, 5. So 4 is in one of those 2 cells, and therefore in one of those 2 as well. 7, 6. Look, 5, 1 again are both looking into all of these corner cells, so they're a little pair in there. And that means 2 must be down here somewhere. And 9 must be up the right-hand side somewhere. And that is very useful. 9, because 9 can't be there and can't be in either of those 1, 5 cells, there's a 9 in one of those 2, and now 9 in box 3 can't be there. So this has become a 5, 9 pair. That makes this a 6, 8 pair. Now this is a 3, 4, 9 triple. We know that must be 9 because there's a 4, 3, 7 triple there. So we get 4 and 3 fixed. Now this is 2 and 8. This is now a 4, 6 pair going alongside the 7 at the bottom. That makes this one a 5, and that fixes the 1, 5. That fixes the 1, 2 up here. We get a 2 here in row 3. And what else has that done? This must now be an 8 because there is a 4, 6 pair in the box and it sees all the other digits. We get a 1 there, 9 there. That fixes 8 and 1 up at the top. That's fixing the 6, 8 pair we did in the corner. Remember, we're ignoring the circles for now. They have no bearing on solving the puzzle. They're only going to be useful when we've finished. And that was made fairly clear in the instructions, I think. So that 5, 9 is resolved. This 2, 8 is resolved. That 4, 6 is resolved. All the corner boxes are done. We get 6, 8 in column 7. And now we have to find something we can do in the middle box, I think, at this point. No, not yet. That's a naked single 5 now. And that's a 4, 9 pair. Right, and 5s are useful. There are 4 of them looking into the middle box. So we know where 5 goes there. That can't be a 6. 1, 8, 5, 6, 2. This becomes a naked single 3. We get those resolved. We've got 1 to place in column 4. It's got to be there. In fact, there are 4 given. In fact, I could have done that from the very start because all of those 1s are looking into the middle box. Didn't spot that. 2, 8, 5, 6, 1. That's 3 or 7. And that gives us a 3, 7 pair in the column. So that's 4 or 9. We've got 4, 7. That's become a 4. So we've got a 7, 9 pair to place in row 4 after that. 3, 5, 1. This has become a 7 because we've got a 3 in the box. Should have seen that. And this is a naked single 3. That's going to fix the 6, 3 pair. I think we're finishing off now. 8 there resolves the 2, 8 pair. We must have a 2 to place in column 4. That is a 9. And I think that is going to finish us off. And there's the solution to the classic Sudoku. So really quite approachable, that one. I think the others that I'll be doing in this video were the ones people found harder. Now, what you had to do after this is, as the instructions say, you now visit tinyurl.com/36666234. And that will take you to the next of the puzzles in the extravaganza, in F puzzles. Now there is a Sudoku bookmarklet that you can use to transfer an F puzzle into the Cracking the Cryptic app, and I'll be putting that in the link under this video, so you can find it there if you want. And if you're ever wondering where was that bookmarklet, what you do with it is you save it as a bookmark, and then when you're in an FPuzzles puzzle, you click on that bookmark and the same puzzle will come up in our CTC app, which is how I'm solving it here like this, which is the kind of magic created by Sven. Anyway, if you did that for number 2, you'd go to puzzle number 2. If you solve puzzle number 2, you would put in the circles, the tiny.url.com, whatever it is, sorry, tinyurl.com/ and the circles from that, and that brings up puzzle 3, the anti-night puzzle. And this was an early stumbling block for a lot of people, so I'm going to have a look at this one. So let's start with 2s. There's 5 2s given, which is very generous of Jovial. We can pencil mark a 2 into column, not like that, into column 4. Also, we can actually place a 2 in row 8. That can't be a 2 because it's a knight's move away from that. And this is, of course, a knight's move Sudoku. So that gives us a 2 in one of those positions. And you might think 2s are pretty unresolved at this point, but it is very much worth noting that this 2 has ruled out those cells in box 1. And the position for those 2s rules out that one because they both see this cell. Whether 2 is there, clearly by Sudoku that can't be a 2, or if 2 is there, by knight's move that can't be a 2. This cell and this cell have been ruled out. That one rules out these 3. So in fact 2 ends up in box 1 in one of those 2 positions, which fixes it in box 4. And we've got these 2s placed now. We can't place this sort of X-wing of 2s because nothing touches those by knight's move or any other Sudoku move. So we can't deal with them, but it is instructive in how far you can progress by just looking at things. So I'm going to look at 3s maybe next. Those cells are ruled out, so 3 is in one of those 2. Again, bear in mind they both see this cell. So in fact that restricts 3 to just a couple of cells in box 4. Those 2. And maybe that's not... Oh, 3 up here is ruled out of all of those. So it's in 2 possible cells in box 2. They're not particularly seeing anything very useful in box 3. So maybe we'll leave 3s. Look at 1s. Actually, we've got 5 1s given. And we can work out where 1 goes, sorry about that, in box 6 straight away. Those 2 boxes are ruled out by the placed 1s, that one by that, and this one by that on the knight's move. So we can place a 1 here. That's going to give us a 1 in one of those 2 cells. We're obviously going to get a 1 in row 4, somewhere in box 6. But in row 2, we can place the 1, and that's great. It's placed there. That one's ruled out by the knight's move. That one sees both of those cells, and suddenly we can finish off the 1s in the grid, and they're all done. Now, the next stage is, let's just have a quick look at 4s. 4 there restricts 4 into one of those 2 cells. That 4 sees all of those cells, so 4 is quite restricted in box 6. But this isn't all that helpful. What is the really important next step is to consider this 5-cell area in the central box, which doesn't look all that promising. We have no idea which digits those are. They are, I mean, we know they're 4, 5, 6, 7, and 9, but we don't know where they go. But if you look at any of these cells and what cells they see in the central box, you will find out that for each one of them, the cells it sees in the central box are those 3 on the horizontal and those 2 by knight's move. And whichever of these positions you're talking about sees all of those cells, and therefore none of these highlighted positions can be 4, 5, 6, 7, or 9. They all also see a 1 and a 2 now, based on the work we've done already. So they must be a 3-8 pair. And when I say a pair, I mean 1 pair on the vertical and 1 pair on the horizontal. And that's kind of extraordinary, but it is nonetheless a fact that we are restricted down to a 3/8 pair in both of those positions just by this empty plus sign, if you like, in the middle box. So hopefully I can use that and these 3/8 pairs that I've created to make some further progress, although I don't remember exactly how this works. Right, yes, down here that works very well on this 4 pair that we identified. This can now not be a 4. So we can place a 4 there. We know that 4 in this box is in one of those 2 cells. An interesting thing about those is they both see that cell. So now we've ruled out quite a lot of cells in box 5 from being a 4. All of those are ruled out. 2 of them by that one and 1 by the collocation of those 2. So 4 is going to end up in one of those 2 in box 5. This one... No, it doesn't do all that much here, I'm afraid. Right, so let me just think about, we've got a 6 in one of those 2 cells. Yeah, I need to solve this now, basically. It's a little tip that is useful, but now I actually have to use it, which is a slightly different requirement. So I will see how far I can carry on doing so. So let us see what else we can do here. I mean, I do definitely remember, and I've pointed out to a few people, I've mentioned it a couple of times on videos, that this was one of the 2 puzzles I found hardest when solving. And, maybe this was one of the 2 that really challenged the genuinely approachable nature of this Sudoku relay, because although none of the individual steps is absolutely monstrous, it was pretty hard in total to do this. As you can see, yes, of course, those 2 positions for 3 in box 7 both see that. So in fact, this is now resolved. That can't be a 3, or you couldn't put a 3 in box 7. So that's an 8. That's a 3. So that's not a 3. What does that do for 3s at the top? It puts a 3 in one of those 2 cells. We've also now got a 3 in one of those 2. What does that do? Does the 8 help? We've got an 8 now in one of those. Those and that all see 8. So 8 in row 9 has to be in, or 8 in box 7 has to be in row 9. And now in row 8, the only place for 8 is there. That sees all of those. This one sees those 2 and that. So in fact, we've only got one place for 8 now in box 6, which is helpful. And that fixes that 8-3 pair there. We end up with 3 3s in a diagonal line, which is not unusual. That's fixing 3 there. That fixes 3 in this box as well. We can tidy up a few 3 pencil marks. We've got 3 in one of those 2, but one of them sees that cell. So in fact, now we can place 3s and they're all done in the puzzle. We can't go back to 2s yet. Let me look at 8s. Right, column 8. That can't be an 8. So we can place 8 there. Now we know it's not here, we can place it in box 2. That reaches into box 1. And I think we're finished with 8s. We get to put 1 there and 1 there, and we are done. That 8 has resolved 6 in this box as well. So that goes in. 4 is going to be in one of those 2 cells. And that's quite interesting. We've actually restricted 4 in box 6 down to 1 cell as well in what we've done, but you could see that coming from those possible positions of 4. 3, so that gives us a 4 up here. We've got a 6-9 pair to resolve at the end of row 3. 2, 4, and 7 to place. Don't know how to do that. In row 3, one of these is a 6. And they both see that. Not that helpful. They're both seen by that 6 as well. And this 6 sees that cell. So in fact, 6 in the central box has now been restricted to one of those two, which works very well as an X-wing with those two. So 6 in column 4 has to now go here. That doesn't quite allow us to place a 6 down here. It's in one of those two cells, not there. And what else do we get from that? No, I'm going to have to look for something else. These see 6 and 9. They also see 1, 2, 8, 3, 4. So that's 5 or 7. And whatever it is can't be there. So we'll be in one of those two cells. I'm not sure that we need anything quite like that to solve the puzzle. But let me carry on looking for things that we've got done. 3, 2, 4, 6, 1, 8. 5, 7, and 9 to go in this box. That is 5 or 9 as well. Does that have an impact with those two? Not necessarily. Oh no, that is quite interesting because 5 in the final column goes in one of those two cells. And both of them see that cell, one by the knight's move. So that can't be a 5, in fact. That does become a 7. That 7, as I said, will go in one of those two cells in column 5. That means it's in one of those two cells. And we've still got 5 and 9 unpencil marked here. I can't do much with them at the moment. So I'm still looking, even though we made a lot of breakthroughs in this puzzle, I'm still looking for what we have to go on. 5's in one of those two in box 9. 7 is down in one of those two. No, that's definitely not resolved yet. 2, 6, 9, 5, 3, 1, 8. We've got 2, 4, and 7 still to place in row 3, which feels like it ought to be helpful, but it's not really working for me at the moment. 6, 8, 1, 3, 2, 4. So we've got lots of 5, 7, and 9 possibilities around the grid. 4, 2, 1. That can't be a 7 because one of those is a 7. 6, 9 pair there. Sorry, I'm probably missing something here. 5 has to be in one of the... 6 has to be in one of these two cells. But 9 could be in any of those three. 6 being in one of those two. No, it doesn't resolve this one. So let me now still keep considering how to solve this. 4, 8, 2, 1, 3. Are these 6s resolvable in some way? I can't see how. I'm probably missing a fairly straightforward knight's move at this point. I don't recall there being anything much more difficult than this to do in the puzzle, but my apologies for therefore taking some time about it. I do just want to get it right, obviously. That is yet another 5, 7, or 9, as is this cell. We might start colouring for the win at this point. 2, 7, 3, 1, 4, 5, 6, or 9. So let's find a cell that sees a couple in a neighbouring box. And then we can probably colour. So those two both see that one. So that one has to be the same as that. So we'll colour that orange. And look, yeah, that is useful immediately because that means it has to be in one of those three cells so it can't possibly be 9. So those two will be 5. I'm not sure you need anything that complicated, but it's helped me get through this. 5 there means we can take 5 out of a lot of other cells, including that one. This comes down to 7 or 9. We've got a 6-9 pair there. So we've got 4, 5 and 7 to fill in row 6. Still not quite finished. That 5 actually sees this cell, so that can't be a 5. 8, 2, 3, 1, 6, 5, 3, 1, 8. So we've got, that's 4 or 7. Don't know which. Might have to do more colouring again. Find another cell that is being very helpful. Let's just look around a bit. Sorry if you're seeing something that enables a bit of go forward at this point. I wish I was. 3, 8, 4, 2, 1. So still holding out. I mean, it's a tricky little puzzle. That 7-9 pair, they don't reach the same place anywhere. I'm sure I am now missing something fairly straightforward. Right, 7 has to be in one of those cells. It can't be there. That cell sees all of those, doesn't it? And that is a very important technique. So those 3 are 5, 7 and 9. And that they all see this. So this can't be 7 or 9. This must be a 6. And that's going to enable us to finish off columns 7, 8 and 9 at least. It might do considerably more than that as well. This can't be a 7. So 7 is now somewhere there in column 2. And therefore in one of those 2 cells in row 2. And therefore in one of those 2 cells in row 3. But none of them are hit by a knight's move, so that hasn't finished anything. Right, that can't be a 4 and that can't be a 4. So 4 now is fixed in the central box. It has to be there. This one's not a 4, but in the central row, that one is now a 4. Again, that fixes 4 in box 1 and in box 3, and I think all of our 4s are now done. We have a 2 and a 7 to put into row 3 now. 2, 5, 9 in row 1. 1, 4, 2, 3, 8. So 7 is now fixed in box 5. This is a 5, 6, 9 triple, of which that can't be a 6. This has become the last one in its row, so that's a 9. Then we have a 5, 7 pair, so that's not a 9. Still, it's not absolutely given up, probably because I'm missing things now. 1, 4, 6. Yeah, this wasn't easy, was it? This is actually a naked single. It sees 6, 4, 1, 3, 8, 7 in the row and 5 and 2 there. So that is a 9. And that is going to fix that 6. This 6 here. That makes this a 7. Does this whole triple. And that's going to fix the triple in box 7. 9 and 5 there, 7 and 5 there. Now we're just finishing off, thank goodness, because that wasn't easy. Really clever puzzle. I mean, really clever puzzle, but maybe not quite as approachable as a knight's move could be. And there we go. That was puzzle 3. Now, the next one I'm going to move on to is puzzle 9, I think. No, puzzle 4, actually. It is the very next one. which is an anti-king, and this was reported by some to be pretty tough too. So I'm going to have a look at that next. Just going to go wade straight into it. We've got 1s in rows 3 and 2, and that by Sudoku, but that by the anti-king rule. So we can place a 1 here. I think, is there some symmetry? No, not necessarily, but 6 is ruled out of all of those cells. So we can place 6 there and 6 in one of those. That has become a 1 thanks to the first 1 we did. That 6 puts a 6 in one of those too. Now, I do have to train my mind not to think in terms of anti-knight at this point. 4 is now in one of those two. 7, 8, 1. 5 can't be in those because of that and the king's move rule. So this has become not actually a 6-5 pair. 5 was placeable in box 2 up there because this cell touches that 5. So that's given us the 6s. 3, 4, 6, 8, 1. 3, I think, as well, is also ruled out of all of those cells. So we can put a 3 in that box. And that makes this a 6-3 pair rather than, in fact, that's showing us where the 4 is down here rather than just a 6 in one of those two. 5 and 5, so we can place a 5 here. Now, where does 2 go in column 4? It's got to be in one of those two. And they both touch these two cells, which now can see 7, 8, 1, 4, 5, and 2. So this one becomes a naked single. It must be a 9 because it sees a 3 and a 6. This becomes either a 3 or a 6 accordingly. And 2, in fact, is... I don't know. No, we don't know yet where 2 goes. But let's carry on having used that 9 information, which was quite surprising. We've got 2, 5, and 9 to place in box 7. There must be a 2 in one of these cells. Two at the top, actually. Those are all ruled out. In fact, all of those are ruled out. Again, we can get a corner cell done. In fact, all of the corner cells I think were doable immediately. Now I think about it as 1, 2, 3, and 4, just by the rules. So 2 there, 2 here. One of these is a 2. But now, in fact, 2 is confined to one of those two cells in column 4. Column 3. That being the case, that can never actually be a 2, weirdly. 2's definitely in one of those. 2 is now in one of these two cells in column 7. Maybe I can't do any more than that with it, but we've had an interesting run on 2's there, effectively. 5's up here somewhere. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 3, 2... Now I'm again scouting around, looking for further information, wondering what to do next. As always then, it's got to be the king's move rule that's going to be helpful. Let's see if we can find somewhere where that's operating usefully. 2, 1, 5, 4, 3 up here. No. 9, so let's have a look at this column again. 9, 7, 8, 1, 5. Now that can't be a 2. So one of those two is a 2. Is that telling? I mean, that got a 2 out of here. But it could still be 2 there. Oh no, this can't be a 2 because there's a 2 there. Sorry. The only place in column 3 where there can be a 2 is there. So very slow on that. That gives us a 4 up here, which is going to put a 4 in one of those two cells, and one of these 2. Now that's going to keep 4 out of those two. So 4 is going to end up in one of those 3 cells in box 6. Four, 5, 2, 1. This now is a 3, 6 pair here in the column. So this must be 7 or 8 by Sudoku at this point. 3 can't be in those cells. And that is quite interesting because all of these are ruled out by ordinary Sudoku. Those 2 are ruled out because 3 must be in one of those 2. So we end up able to place a 3 in the central box. That goes in there. Therefore, we're going to have a 3 in one of those 2 cells. That 3 in the central box has fixed this 6-3 pair. Now we've got 6 in one of those 2, but by a king's move we know which one. That restricts 4, so we're reduced on the 4 possibilities. That takes 4 out of that cell and puts it in there. Feel like we're getting very close on 4s. That's now a 5-4 pair. And we've got 4 there. So this must be the 4 in column 7. That fixes a 2 here, which stops that being a 2, takes 2 out of there. 2 is now in one of those cells, so that's not a 2. That's a 2, that can't be, that is, and that's a 2. And then I think we've suddenly finished with 2s. We've got 5, 7, and 8 still to place in this box. One of those is a 5, so one of these 2 has to be a 5 in row 6. That is 7 or 8, but it's actually touching a 7. So in fact, this is a naked single now. That is an 8. We've got a 1 in one of those 2, and therefore this is the 1 in column 5, that is, sorry. 7, 8, and 9 still to place. Now, in this central box again, that can't be a 9. We don't know much about 7 though, so this is 7 or 9. That's 7, 8, or 9. 3, 4, 6. We've got 1, 5, and that's 1 or 7. Those are from 1, 5, and 7, although that one can't be a 1. Now that means that 5's in one of those. That's not helpful, sorry. 6, 1, 4. Now up here, 3 is in one of those. 8 is in one of those 2. This can't be a 7, 9 pair. I'm not sure if that's a way to look at this because of that. That's probably not helpful. 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. 6 is now confined to one of those. Sorry, it's still trying to find a way through this. 7 is definitely there. Let's have a look down this column. If that can't be 5, because there's a 5 in there, the only place for 5 in column 6 is actually here. So again, it's a case of asking the right questions. And the right question in that case was, where does a 5 go in column 7? Sorry if I called it column 6. So that 5, is that having any? Very little impact, in fact, on the rest of the grid at this point. 4, 5 pair there, no. 8 must be in one of those 2 cells, so that's not an 8. 1 there and 1 there means one of these is a 1, and that is going to resolve this cell. So that becomes a 7. That's a 1. This is either 7 or 9. I'm surprised they're not resolved in some way. They are, because that's now an 8, 9 pair, and that does fix this as a 7. So that's now a 5, 8 pair. That makes this one a 7. This has become an 8, 9 there. 1, 4 pair still to go in here. This is the last one in its column, so that's a 7. Then we're going to have 6, 8, and 9 in some order in the corner there. 6, 2. Now these 2 are 3 and 7. Yes, we know the order. These two are 8 and 9, and we know the order because of that. So that's helpful. King's move again. That's either 6 or 8. This is a 9-3 pair, and we know the order because of that cell. So again, the king's move, doing a lot of work here. And basically, that last one has allowed us to finish the puzzle, I think. So 6, 7, 2. Just got these end columns to do now. This has become a 7. So I haven't resolved that 8-9 pair, and there's no king's move doing that for me. But I'm sure something else I do now will get this resolved. That's 8 or 9. So we've got a 6, 8, 9 triple there. So this becomes 1. Probably didn't need to do anything like looking for a triple there, but nonetheless, it's done now. That can't be 7. That's 7. That's 5. This has become an 8. And just 2 cells to finish off. Now, there we go. That is the... Oh no, hang on. I've mistyped a number. Let's hope it's just this one that I've written a 2 in when I meant an 8. There we go. Sorry about that. Don't know how that happened. So that was the anti-king, number 4 puzzle. And now we jump to puzzle 7, the palindrome Sudoku. This did cause a lot of people trouble. And it does have a reasonably intricate solution path. So let's have a look at this one next. Now, there's not a lot of information given here and some tiny palindromes that are only telling you about relations between their ends. But let's use what we have. We've got 2 3s there, so and 1 down here. So 3's on that palindrome in one of those cells. Let's see where else. Actually, I'm just going to fill in a couple of cells I can see as having only 2 possible solutions. Right, 4 is in one of those 3. Yeah, there's very little given. Let me just remember how this works. It isn't easy to see, I have to say. So let's look at. We'll keep looking at 3's. Now, down in this box, where does 3 go? Well, not in those cells that see 3. It also can't go here because that would put a 3 on the other end of the palindrome. So 3 is in one of those 2. And yeah, this is quite interesting. Actually, it's box 6. Look at 3's here. 3 clearly can't go in those 2 cells because of that. It also can't go in those 2 because the other ends of those palindrome are in column 6 where there is already a 3. So 3 here has 4 possible locations, one of which would, that one would put a 3 here. So that's possible at least at the moment, but let's keep thinking about 3's. 3 can't be in any of those positions. Let's have a look at 3 in this box. Can't be anywhere there or there by the 3's given. It also can't be here because that would put another 3 in column 6 where there's already a 3. So 3's in one of those 2 cells. That means it's in one of these 3 cells here, but it can't be there or it would be there on the palindrome. So it's in one of those 2. We'll keep thinking about 3's. Because we've worked out that it's not here, we know that in box 4 it's not here, but it's also not here or here because that would put a 3 in column 1. So in box 4, 3 must be in one of those 3 cells, and suddenly that has eliminated where 3 is on this palindrome. It's not here because in column 2 it's in one of those 3. Therefore, it's not on the other end of the palindrome, it's in the middle of it. Now it's not on that end of the palindrome in box 5, it must be here. That takes out a couple of positions for 3 in boxes 4 and 6. And now it's limited to those positions in box 6, which stops it being here. So we get 2 more 3s, and we get this position with 4 3s laboriously filled in and a little X-wing of 3s remaining. So then we can look at column 4. And we can start wondering what happens in column 4. Maybe that's not what to do next. Sorry, I'm trying to remember as well as work it out here, because this really wasn't easy to get going with. Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? I'm not absolutely sure what we can do. Right, that can't be a 4 because it would put a 4 there, so maybe that was dumb. 4 is in one of those 2 cells. Those can't be 4 or 3. And these can't be 3, 7 or 5 because of the final column. Oh right, look at that. These can't be 1 because they have their other ends of the palindrome in column 2 where there's already a 1. So 1 in box 5 now has to be in one of those 2 cells. Then in box, this does go into column 4 where 1 now has to be in one of those 2 cells, but it can't be there because that 1 would clash. So we can actually place the 1 in column 4 there. That doesn't let us fix the 1 in column 6 yet. So let's just have a think about let's have a think about 6 now in this column. 6 clearly can't be there because of that 6, but that's also touching the ends of those palindromes, and that stops 6 being anywhere there in column 4. So we can put a 6 in down here. Then we're going to get a 6 in one of these 2 cells. I'm not sure that those are resolved yet. Even that one, not a problem, but we've got a 6 down here. Three, 1. I mean, this is a tricky puzzle to get to grips with, unquestionably. Still looking for somewhere to make more of a breakthrough. We've got, okay, yes, this is worth looking at. The rest of column 4, we've got 4, 5, 7 and 8 to place. But that means that the ends of those palindromes that they're on must all be 4, 5, 7 and 8. So those 2 and those cells are 4, 5, 7 and 8. And that's incredibly useful in the central box because now we've got a quadruple that is 4, 5, 7 and 8. So the remaining cells are 1, 2 and 9. That one can't be a 1. Again, some of those are on palindromes, so those 2 cells become 1, 2 or 9 as well. And now we have a 1, 2, 9 triple in the central row, looking at this cell, making it an 8, which is an extraordinary thing. This becomes a 4, it's the last thing possible in the row. That stops these being 4s, and those on the ends of the palindromes. They also can't be 8s because of that 8 down there. So this has become a 5, 7 pair here. That means these other cells that they see are now a 4, 8 pair in some order. And with that 5-7 pair, we have 1, 5, 7, 4, 8. No, I'm not sure what to do with that. Do we know that one of these isn't a 1? No, in fact, one of those is a 1, so I don't know how to tell which is which yet. What else can we do at this point? It is astonishing in some ways that so much can come from so little original information. One of those is a 4, but I'm not sure which one. Is that 5-7 pair more useful than I realise? It probably is. It doesn't help that I keep looking in Knight's moves at this puzzle. Right, 5 in this row. Yes, we've got a 4, 6, 7 pair, so we can place 5 there. That gives us a 7 on the end of that palindrome. 5 on the end of the other one that is in the same columns. That's going to give us 5 in one of those 3 and one of those 3 cells. Might as well pencil mark those. 7 there, 7 there, 7 in one of those 2. Now that is quite interesting because 7 is either there or both there and there. And in either case, 7 ends up in one of these 2 cells looking down at this. So that can't be a 7. That becomes a 6. And they're filled in. Now we have 7 in one of those 2 in column 8. It hasn't resolved which of these is a 7, but one of those 2 is. 7, 3, what else? 4 is definitely in one of those 2. 7, 3. So we might be able to do the same with 6s. Look, we've got those 2 6s, so one of those 2 is a 6. And that means that effectively one of these 2 is a 6. That makes this 8 or 9 up here, but not necessarily. I'm not sure that I know which one. I'm not sure actually. Maybe I do. 8 can't be there. This 8 also can't be there because it would be on the end of the palindrome. So 8's in one of those 2. One of those is a 1. No, can't see quite what that does. One of these is a 5 in row 2. Maybe the 4-8 pair, which has to be there and in one of those 2 cells. Can't quite see if that resolves anything. If that was a 4, they would be 4s. That's perfectly fine. So maybe it is just time to start considering what can this cell be. It can't be 7, 6, 8, 5, 3 or 4. It is 1, 2 or 9 and it must appear in one of those 2 cells. No, I don't think that's... Oh, this has to be 4, 8, 3, 2, 5, 7, 6. That is 1 or 9. So whatever this is has to be in one of those 3 cells. It is 3, 2, 1 or 9. So it must be from 1, 2 and 9. Because it obviously can't be a 3 up there. Sorry, I think I'm just missing some regular Sudoku play here. So let me just see if I can figure out what that is. That is 2 or 9 by Sudoku. Whatever this is on the end of this 1, 2 or 9 palindrome must also appear down here, forming an effective 1, 2, 9 triple in box 6 with those 2 cells. And that means this has to either be 5 or 6 on the end of this palindrome, and it can't be 5. So that is a 6 suddenly. That's going to put a 6 not there or there because of this 6. So in fact 6 goes there. That fixes the 3 X-wing that we had from the start. This again forms the 1, 2, 9 triple, so that is now 4 or 5. We've got 2 and 9 at the top and bottom of column 2. That's 1, 5 or 9. Still haven't resolved those 5s at the top of the grid now. Not many 5s left to do. Can these be 5s? Where does 5 go in this box? There's only one cell, isn't there? It's there. Okay, so that's on the end of that palindrome. So it's not there, or that's not a 5. But that leaves us this X-wing of 5s at the top. Those are from, that's 7 or 9. That's 1, 7 or 9. So where does 6 go up here? Not in any of those cells. So that's a 5, 6 pair now, and that makes this a 4. That makes this an 8. 8 there. 4 on the end of that palindrome. 4 there. 2 or 7 down here. 2, 7 or 9 up here, which forms a triple, bizarrely. So the others are 5, 6 and 8. That's a naked single 5. 6 there, 8 in this other circle. That's giving us an 8 here. 8, 8 and an 8 here. And an X, no, that has to be 8 now because it can't be on the palindrome. And that's the last 8 in the grid. 2, 3, 6, 8. So we've got a 4 to place here. I have a feeling we're nearly done on 4s. I think we are there. So that can't be 2. This is now not 5, 7 or 9 there. That's 2 or 7. So we've still got this palindrome left to really figure out, I think, which is probably going to be important. Can't be 7, 4, 5, 8, 3, 6 or 2. So it is 1 or 9. That gives us a 1, 9 pair there. It makes this a 6. This is 1, 2 or 9 for the column. Actually, that's probably the last 6. No, there's one more 6 to place in the grid. There it is. This is 7 or 9. So we've still got these palindromes over here now. 2, 7 or 9 on the end of this one, and therefore here as well. This one can be 4, 5, 8, 6, 3, 7, 1, 2 or 9, which seems a fairly familiar combination in this puzzle. It goes in there as well. So in fact the only place for 7 in column 3 now is there, and that's on the end of the palindrome, and that is probably going to bring us to a conclusion. 7, that can't be 7. This is the last it can possibly be. 9 there, so those can't be 9. They're a 1, 2 pair. We get 9 on that palindrome. That puts a 9 here. Get a 1 there. We've got no 9s in those cells, so no 9 there. That is a 9 in the column, so that's a 9. That's a 2. 1 on the palindrome. 2, 1, 2. This must be 1, 2, 1, and 2. And there we go. That is the palindrome Sudoku, which is definitely one of the toughest. So this is the next puzzle that I'm looking at. We've jumped forward to number 17, Arrow Sudoku. And let's have a look at how we'd start this. So the central box has got a lot going on in it. We've got arrows especially these 4 circles, have arrows of 3 cells all in a box, and therefore they have to all be adding up to at least 6. 1 plus 2 plus 3 is the absolute minimum. So we could start by filling in 6, 7, 8, 9. Obviously the ones in the central row can't be 6 because there's a 6 in that row already. This 1 is actually very important because the minimum these 3 digits can be around it are 2, 3 and 4. So suddenly we know where the 9 is. We can take 9 out of those 2 cells. They must be a 7, 8 pair. This has to be 6, and we can put 1, 2, 3 on its arrow. So we have got quite a lot of information now about those arrows. Now, what else in the central box? We've used 6, 7, 8, 9. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So the maximum of those is 5. And the minimum for this circle is also 5 because this box has a 1 in it. So we're going to have a 2 and 3 there and a 5 on the arrow. On the circle, I mean, sorry. This remaining circle now has to be 4 or 3. And there has to be a 1 on its arrow, which now can't be there. So we can put a 1 there with either 2 or 3 here. And you can probably see we're forming lots of 2, 3, 4 pairs, or maybe we should describe them as 1, 2, 3, 4 pairs, and 1, 2, 3, 4 quads, 1, 2, 3 triples, 2, 3 pair there actually. So the remaining arrow in the central box has to have a 1 and a 2 on it, and either a 3 or a 4. So its circle is 6 or 7. Now let's have a look at this arrow. This number is in a box with 1, 2 and 3 in it, and it can see a 5. So the minimum it can be is 4. This arrow cell is in a box with 1, 2, 3 in it. So the minimum it can be is 4. And you can now see that these have to at least be a 4 and a 5. So we can put 9 in the circle, work out where the 5 and the 4 go. Must be that way round because of that 5. And we've got one arrow completed now. So let's take 4 out of those cells. We've now got a 1, 2, 3 triple in column 4. Now what else can we do? Let's have a look at this arrow and that cell in particular. 1, 2, 3, 4 in the row gone already. Can't be a 6. So this is 5, 7 or 8. Now this actually can't be a 1 because there must be a 1 on this arrow, which is coming to a 7 or 8 circle. So that's got to be at least a 2. We can't go up past 4 or we'd break this arrow. So we're up to 7, 8 or 9 in the circle. Now, can we do anything else with that? Yeah, it's quite interesting actually. If you consider that this is a 7 or 8 and this is a 7 or 8. So one of these has 1, 2, 4 on its arrow. The other has either 1, 2, 5 or 1, 3, 4. Now what's that doing to these cells? Well, they can't be more than 5 because 5's the maximum number. So now we're going to get a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 quintuple in the row, effectively. That can't actually be 5 because of that number up there. This one could be any of them. And then we therefore know where 6 goes in this row. It must be here. We've got a 7, 8 pair on the left of it. 7, 8 pair there. This has to be 7, 8 because this could not be 7 or 8, obviously. In fact, where does 9 go in this row? I think we can probably tell that as well. Yes, it goes in there. So then 9 will be in one of these 2 cells in box 6. Now let's see if we can narrow down this arrow any more and its total. Let me just have a think about this. We've got... So if this was a 2 here, that would mean this would have to be 1, 3, 4 leading to an 8. And this is getting quite important now because, in fact, actually, let's be simpler than that. This has formed a 1, 2, 3, 4 quadruple, which makes this a 5. That's much more straightforward. So now we know this is an 8, so we don't have to kind of go what if. We've got 2 and a 1 on this arrow. We can fill them in based on that one. Now we know this can't be 2. That's where I got to that from. This now can't be 7 anymore. This can't be... Well, this can't be 8 or 7. This has to be 5 now. We've got a 3-4 pair. So that has come down to 2 or 1, as has this. We've got an 8 there, has forced a 7 here. So now we've got our 1, 2, 4 triple on the arrow. We can fill in 3 and 5 in the box. This can't be a 1 or a 2 based on things it can see. So we've got 9, 3 and 4 to fill in the box over here. And that's a triple, so we know where 1 goes in the row. That's there, that sorts out the arrow. Also, this arrow has been resolved. That's going to resolve most of this arrow. Just a 2-1 pair left. This can't be a 3 anymore. We've got a 1-2 pair in column 4, so that is now a 3. That's become a 2. That sorts out this arrow at the bottom. Still haven't actually sorted out the one at the top yet. This can't be... this sees a 1, 3 and 4, so that's probably the last piece in the puzzle of the arrows. 2, 1 there. Do we still not... Oh yes, we now know this circle is a 3 from its arrow. That's very helpful. So 4 there, 7 here. These don't have a 4 in. This has become a 4, so we get a 9 in the circle down there. And that fixes the 3-9 pair. So most of these central rows are done now. The rest of this, well, since we've finished the arrows, the rest of it is basically going to be classic Sudoku from this point. So we need a 7 in the final column. That's clearly got to be in the circle there. We've got 8, 1 and 2 to go in there. An 8, 7 pair now in box 2. We can fill in 6 and 3 in the top row. That's got to be a 4. It's a naked single. 3, 8 pair. We can fill in 7 and 4. I think the rest of this is just finishing off, but it's actually a very clever puzzle the way it's been set up. Yet more to admire from Jovial here. 9, 7, 1, 6, 8. So we've got a 3, 2 pair. Yes, we can fill them in, and the 5, 4 pair. Yeah, just finishing off now. So excellent puzzle. But you can understand how some of those opening steps weren't entirely straightforward. I mean, well done if you got through that without being too troubled by it, because I think it's really well set up, to be honest. 7 there, so we can do 8, 7, 8, 6, and we've got a 4 and a 6 to fill in. And that puzzle takes us on to the next, which is number 18, the last one I shall do in this video, but I think the hardest in the set. And this was the between Sudoku. So the rule here is that every number on a line has to lie between the digits, numeric between the digits in the circles at the ends of the line. So that's what we have here. So let's just have a think about how we can approach this puzzle. And what you need to do is, it's as always, it's about asking the right questions. It may be very tempting to look down this lead diagonal and go, well, it must be a 5 in the middle to make up the set. But that's not a conclusion we can reach, really. So let's look down column 8 and see where we would put a 1 there. And this is quite interesting. It can't go in the top box because there's already a 1 there. It can't go in row 4 because there's a 1 there. These 3 cells are all on lines. And if you think about the rule, the line can never contain a 1 or a 9 because that could never be between the numbers in the circles. So therefore the 1 in this column has to be here in row 9. So we've got a digit in the grid at least. We can put a 1 in one of those 2 cells, although we don't know which one yet. Now we can look using much the same technique on the lines in column 7, but this time we're asking, where does 9 go? And again, we've worked out it doesn't go on the lines, So the 9 is going to have to go down there. And the same sort of logic will work in row 2 for 9s. Where does 9 go? Well, it can't be in that box because of the 9. It can't be in that column because of that 9. And those are all lines. So we can fill in a 9 there. And then think about the 1 in row 3. And again, the 1 can't be there because of the 1 can't be on the lines. So it must be here. So that does get us going a bit. Now we can sort of fill in some of the other candidate numbers without really knowing exactly how we're going to complete the puzzle. So this one turns out it sees a 3 and a 4. So this is down to a 2 or a 5 here. And the remainder of 2, 3, 4, 5 in the bottom row must be there somewhere. In the first column we have 4, 5, 7 and 8 to place. This one can't be a 7. Now, I mean, we've done very little at this point, and there are other pencil marks we could have put in, like a 7 there. We could do a bit more pencil marking at this point, but something that really is worth looking at here is the numbers that have now found their way into the circles on this line. So down here we have 2, 3, 4 or 5, and here we have 4, 5, 7 or 8. That is telling us that the numbers on the line must be from 3, 4, 5, 6 or 7. Because those are the only numbers that can possibly fall between two numbers on that line. So let's start by filling them in along the line. But here, this can't be 3 or 7 because it can see both those numbers. The same is true here. This one is even more interesting. This sees 3, 6, 7 and a 4. So in fact, that has to be a 5 now. The reason that that is quite interesting occurs when we start asking ourselves, well, actually, that makes this a 2, which is useful straight away. Now you'll note we have a 3, 4, 5 pair, triple rather, so that makes this a 6 in the box there. This can't be a 5 anymore. We can't quite do the same here because we don't know which of 4 or 8 we can rule out yet. But if we start looking at these circles, these circles and these circles, which are the remaining circles we haven't addressed at all, we can start filling in some of their candidates. So here we have 5, 6, 7 and 8 left, because 1, 2, 3, 4 have been used in the box. Actually, we can't use 7 because it's down there. Here it is 5, 6, no, not 5, 6, 7 or 8. Here we have 1, 9, 8, 7, 6 and 3, so 2, 4 and 5. Here 2, 3 and 4. And what is getting interesting, this line has a 2 as the minimum and an 8 as the absolute maximum. So is it worth filling in the possible numbers that can go on the line, which range between 3 and 7 again, like the other line we looked at? Well, maybe not for every one of them, but this can only be 3 or 4 because it can see 5, 6 and 7. This one can see 3, 4 and 5. So that has to be 6 or 7. And what that's telling us is that the 6 or 7 is going to need one end of this line to have a number bigger than 6. And that suddenly means this has to be an 8. This 3 or 4 means one end of this line has to be a number smaller than 4. And that means this now has to be 2. So that is quite significant progress. It leaves us with a 3, 4 pair there that sees this cell, makes it an 8. That gives us this analogous 4, 5, 7 triple that makes this a 6. This can't be an 8 anymore, so we've got a 6, 7 pair. We know there's a 5 here. We know there's a 5 here to complete the box. So this is quite reasonable progress now, and this is some way past the point where people really were getting stuck on this puzzle. So as you can see, none of the individual steps are manically difficult, but then thinking of the right questions all the time is very hard in this sort of puzzle. I'm just marking in numbers that are the only possibles in those cells now. That's given us a 4 here. These can't have a 3 in, so they're from 1, 8 or 9. That one can't be 9. These two are from 1, 2 or 9, and that one can't be 1. I mean, you will see as you go through it this way, there's an awful lot of clever symmetry in this puzzle, by the way. So now what do we do next? Well, we've got this line. This is even more interesting in a way. The absolute minimum this can be is 3 and the maximum this can be is 7. So only 4, 5 and 6 can appear on this line at all. So we know what this digit is. We know what this digit is. This one now can't be a 6 and this one can't be a 4. This one can still be any of them. That's no problem. But we've got this 6 and 4 placed now. So we're looking at 2, 7 and 8 in between. Now that's getting quite interesting. Can 8 be on this line? No, because its edges are 2 and 8. So that's now 2 or 7. Can 8 be on this line? Well, we don't know yet. It could still have a 9 in one of the circles. But again, let's look at this row. 2, 3 and 8 to place, but we know that 2 can't be on this line for the same reason. And in fact, the fact that 2 can't be on this line means that this is in fact definitely a 7. What else? Do we also know that 8 can't be on this line because it would need to be lower than that. So that becomes a 3. And there is a little bit of pencil mark tidying up we can do. That's not a 4, that's not a 7. Now let's keep seeing what we can find. Let's have a look at this line now. Oh, the interesting thing about this line is it either has a pair of 2s on it. Whatever this is going to decide that this is a pair. It's either a pair of 2s or a pair of 8s. So it must have a 1 or a 9 on it, or possibly both. But let's see what the candidates are. This one sees 2, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 4. So that's 1, 3 or 5. This one sees 2, 8, 3, 6 and 1. So that's 4, 5, 7 or 9. I'm not sure that that really helps us yet. Maybe let's look at the other items on the line just to see what they can be. 9, 3, 6, 1, so 2, 4, 5, 7 and 8. Not conclusive. So let's do a bit more regular Sudoku. So 6 and 6. One of these must be a 6. Where does 1 go? Up here. It has to be in one of those 2 cells. 3, 4, 5. We need 2 and 7 here. Somewhere in those. And 3 and 8 in those. Now this is a constrained line, isn't it? The numbers on this have to be between 2 and 8, so we can fill in the candidates there. And this can't be a 6 and that can't be a 4, so they're a little bit restricted. But actually I'm still going to have to find something else that's useful here. Let's see what we can do. 2, 8, 7, 9, 1, 3. So those can only come from 4, 5 and 6. Looking across the top, 2, 8, 3 and 1, 9, 7. So that can only come from 4, 5 and 6. That gives us a triple up here. So these two are 2 and 8. 9 has to be in one of those 2 cells. And is there an equivalent here? 2, 8, 7, 4, 5, 6, 3. 9 again has to be in one of these 2 cells. I was going to say that was interesting combined with that, but it's not that helpful. 6 is definitely in one of those. And this has got interesting. Yes, this is a 6 or a 7 in this circle. Well, it's now got a 6 on the line, so that has to be a 7. This is a 4 on the line and a 3 or 4 on the circle, so that has to be a 3. And those help complete their boxes. That 4 sees that cell, the 6 sees that cell, the 3 sees this cell, the 7 sees this one. We've got a 6 over here looking at that cell, so these are beginning to come. We now get a 1 on the line, so that could be a 2. 4 there, we're unraveling most of that triple. 2, 3 and 8, so that's 3 or 8, that's 2 or 8, that's 2, 3 or 8, and that's okay on this line. Now that can't be a 1, this can't be a 5, we've got a 5 now looking up to there, so that's become a 6. That can't be a 6. 2, 3 or 8 here, and now we've got a 2, 3, 8 triple, so we know this is a 9, 6 pair. At the top, how are we going to use this? Not sure actually. Let's look, a 4, 5 pair in column 4. That makes this one a 9, so that is actually the maximal line and doesn't really help us resolve anything else on it. Now we have 1, 4 and 5 which form a triple here, so everything else is 2, 7 or 8 in the box. And we've reduced a lot of this to doubles and triples, but we still have to actually work out how they all go together. Now let's see, 7, 6, 4, 5, 2, we've got 3, 8 or 9 here, and 1, 3, 8 or 9 there. 1, 1, one of those is a 1. Okay, I'm going to have to find some other double or triple. Maybe let's keep using this 4, 5. We've got 2, 8 and 7 to place, so that's 2 or 7. That's 2, 7 or 8. What do we know about this middle box? Middle cell? 4, I'm not sure actually. Are these meant to have been reduced? Have I failed to narrow down any of the numbers on lines? I don't think I have, to be fair. So I'm just trying to spot some sort of, look at this, there's a quadruple, 2, 3, 8, 9 in those 4 cells. I mean, that's not easy, even at this stage of this puzzle. But it means that can't be a 3. More importantly, it means this can't be a 9. So we can fill in 6 there, 9 here. These can't be a 9 now. Is that going to get much done for us? 1, 6, 4, 2, 3, 5, 7, 8. Ooh, that's nearly a quadruple, but not quite. Still looking for triples and quadruples. One of those has to be a 2 for this row. That's quite interesting. We can remove 2 from those cells, therefore. One of those has to be an 8 for this column. So we can move 8 from those cells. Now things are narrowing down a bit in a way that I'm hoping will help us. 5 has to be in one of those 2. No, not necessarily. Still need to find one more sort of combining of numbers. We've used that 2, 8, 7 as far as possible, I think. 6, we've got this 2, 8. That has to be the same as that, and the same as that. It's in one of those cells. We might use a bit of colouring technique here. No, maybe not that. Oh, of course, this line. So sorry. Right, that can't be a 5 because the line includes a 5 on it. There we go. That's what I'm missing. So it's easy to miss this stuff, I can assure you. This has to be less than 5, so that is 3 or 4 there. But this 7, that fixes this as an 8. That has ramifications around the box. This can't be 3 or 5. These can't have a 5 in. They also can't have a 6 now. So there is a fair amount that this is getting us now. That can't have an 8. That can't have an 8. So we don't get a pair. This can't be a 9 on the line. I should have realized that some time ago. The only place for 9 in the box is there. That's a 3, 8 pair now, so we can put in 1 and 2. 3 there. Still got these 2 8s to sort out. And a 4, 5 pair there. These both can't be 4 now. And that can't be 5. This can't be 7. 3. This can't be 3 anymore, and that's quite important. 4, 5, 3 there. That's become a 7. This now becomes a 4 and sorts out the triple at the top. That has become a 7. 3, we've got 1, 2, and 8 place. We can't ever have a 1 on a line, so we are getting the 2s and 8s done now, and generally finishing off the puzzle finally. And this is the last one that I'm going to go through for this video. Now, what I realized that we haven't gone through every single puzzle. There may be another one or two that you struggled with, and you may have wanted to see a bit more than this, but we're already well over an hour into this video. What I'm going to offer to do is to read the comments and the emails and see if there is one other puzzle that you would like a solution video to from this set of Jovial's wonderful puzzles. And maybe we will put up a solution video for one further of the puzzles if there's one that there is a consensus was harder than the others. That's the plan. I will just say that if you got through number 20 and you entered the tiny URL location with the digits from that, you got to this screen which advised you to email crackingthecryptic@gmail.com with the word Archimedes. Somebody did it within about 40 minutes, which was quite impressive. Although we were bearing in mind that since the puzzles were loaded in F-Puzzles originally, you could actually just press solve on most of them and it would solve them for you. So we're not totally convinced that 40 minutes was the time. I think Beanhacker got them done in 3 hours, and that was very impressive. Or possibly, no, maybe it was Shogia who did that first. But there were some very quick times as well. But we were only looking for people to get it in by the 20th of the month, and 930 of you did. Congratulations to you. Thank you so much to Jovial for creating this Patreon reward, which we think really was, well, its popularity shows it was just the sort of thing we hope to bring you. Thank you very much for following to the end of this video, and hope to see you again soon on Patreon. Bye for now.